수준 제가 소가 본다. 다 대인들 먼저 가라다 파진 줄 나라라 진보 수준 이체 내 진료기 진보당으로 주는 계좌가 수준 송으로 주는 계좌들 내만의 세계 소가 유명하다고 했지. 다 소가 공부해 주네지. 소가 대야 다 소가 본다는데 소가로 되게 되는 거 들어가. 지금 게임 바시 중에 가봐. 라운드 지금 세미나로 추가해봐. 라운드 쌤 전환적으로 해봐. 얘네 가봐. 파르르와 친구들 상담을 해드리니까 소가 공부하세요. 소가 공부한다고 지 게임 체에 동의를 지고 있어요. 이게 들어야 소가 공부해서 소가 공부한데가 숨쉬어야 되는 가봐. 내가 시민이 될 수 있어야지. 등에 당도되는 수 있어야지. 최가 내시에 소가 너무 숨쉬.
Yesterday we discussed about the practice of generosity and the ethical discipline or the moralities. So today the third the sixth profession, that is the profession of passions or the perseverance, or you can say the enthusiastic effort. So in order to make the first two perfections, that is the generosity and the moralities, in order to make these fruitful or in order to make these meaningful, we have to. It is totally dependent on the practice of patience or the effort. So usually, when in Buddhist tradition or the text, it says that in order to make effective the first two perfections, that is the generosity and ethics, we have to practice the passions or effort in order to make these first two perfections in a very accomplishment. So in the case of the passions or the effort, there are certain manners of practice or the meditations. So therefore we have to first we have to understand what is the perfection of effort or the passions. What is meant by passions? So normally in our day-to-day life we are facing some different kinds of problems or the sufferings. So at that occasion or at that moment when we are facing some problems or the misfortunes, if we can apply or if we can produce certain antidote without anger or hatred towards the wrongdoers or the harmers towards us. So if we can challenge or if we can respond the harmers without anger or hatred, then these kind of mental or this kind of emotion or mind is called the passions or the effort. So usually we are not able to challenge or respond effectively in a positive way when we are facing some problems or sufferings or harms by others. We are trying to react in a non-productive or in a more harmful ways towards others or the wrongdoers or the harmers. So if we can challenge in a positive or the smooth or positive ways when we are facing or when others harms us, that is the practice of passions or the effort. So there comes three different types of the passions. The first one is passion that realize the definite teachings of Buddhas or the definite doctrines. And the second type of the passions is passions that does not care or think about the harmer or the wrongdoers. And third one is passion that willingly embrace the suffering, or passion that voluntarily takes the suffering of others or oneself. So in this way, in order to make perfect the first two generosity and ethics, we have to practice the passion in a very proper way, just as mentioned in the text.
내가 신경이 배수가 비교래야 수술라 뮤지 신인지래야 수고 같이 공부를 합니다. 내가 공부나 다 수고 공부한데 다 예서 신부 시와라 그때 준준하고 싶어시 당시에는 가서 바로 그래야 지금 수고 공부하는 게 너무 필수예요. 대인들은 다 쪼쪼데 수련대가 진행 가서 들어야 공부 미치듯이 공부 시세의 유대 권한의 유례 유대 너무도 좀 비시세네. 다 개발해서 공부 시세 유대 다 그래 코랑 내가 지고 가서 되게 유문디 다 공부 유문들하고 공부 유문디 시즌다 공부 뉴스 개발을 말도 콜레야 원체 뭐 그게 원체 뭐 이렇게 말이 있어요 콜레 인지다 그 유리 유문도 좀 되네요 지금 공부다 교육다 이거야 이거를 지금 이게 수고했다 테마도 가사 시행기 수술을 뉴스 제시하는데 지금 랜도 만들거든 파수도 좀 만들거든 예수로 무슨 그러면 아 도경 크고 나서 교라고 와서 시세 바로 보기 왜냐면 어제 누구 신주기 보기에 말이야 교를 어제 도저히 야지 제수 통과되는 이제는 수술이야 미치거나 지금 마토베디 답들어야 수로 무슨 말이야 수로 무슨 뉴스진이 찍나 파묘의 지혜를 튜니 상황 예외 qabla 내가 마시가 전에 내가 주님의 지구 굉장히 상신이네 그런 선시인 내가 수로 나왔다.
So in the case of the passions or the effort, there are certain ways or there are different ways how we can practice the effort or the passions. So in a guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, the great Shakyam has mentioned so many ways how we can practice the passions or the effort. So the main thing we have to understand, or the best way how we can practice the effort or the passions, is mentioned by great Shakyam in his text called The Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So in this text, he has mentioned that he has defined what is meant by passions or the effort. So when we are receiving or we are getting so many harms by others in our day-to-day life, so when someone hurt or when someone did wrong things towards us, instead of responding or instead of reacting in our negative ways with anger and hatred and so forth, we have to try to challenge or respond in a more positive or more constructive ways. So in doing that, we have to think that that person who is doing harm towards us he or she has no freedom or the right to what to do, because that person or harmer or the wrongdoer is also fully or totally under the control of delusions, mainly three root delusions: ignorance and hatred and attachments. So therefore, the main doer or the main wrongdoer is the delusions, not the person who possesses the delusions. So therefore, by feeling sympathetic or by feeling compassion towards the person who harms us, we have to try to challenge or we have to try to eliminate the delusions within him or hers, which controls the persons. So therefore, instead of feeling anger towards the person, we have to feel anger towards the delusions which controls the person or that persons. So therefore, we have to, by understanding that the main wrongdoer or the harmer is the delusions within the person who harms or who did something wrong towards us. So by feeling compassion or by feeling pity towards the person, we have to challenge or we have to apply certain antidote for the delusion within that persons. So therefore, if we want to challenge the person who harms us, we can do it very easily, because we have every facility or we have ability or capabilities to overcome or to challenge the persons. But instead of challenging physically with the anger and hatred, if we can feel sympathy or pity towards the person and then tries to eliminate the delusions within that person, then this is called the practice of effort or the passions. For example, those children who are intimidating or who are under the fear of the assault of those elders, so they are not. Those children will not able to respond in a more negative or more effective ways towards the person who did wrong towards them. So at that time they are inabilities. They are not able to challenge or respond in a more effective ways. But when we have every facility or every ability to face or to challenge the person's wrongdoers, if we can instead of challenging in a more negative ways, we can feel pity, or we can try to, if we try to remove or eliminate the delusions within that person, then that is the real practice of generous passions or the effort. So in this way, we have to see that what is the motivation or the intentions within us when we are getting some harms or the negative things towards us by others. We have to see the base of our physical activities or physical reactions towards others.
That is your domain, Tony, the Suvala Biglia. That under the Save Juvala Victory, Suvan, the Victory, that's usually a Kiawama Gilem was shaving, that Jehu domain, the other new Capella, that's another Ganame. That Jesus about Kaloji, Kalo, that's it. And just for the Laguna Pesides. That interview is one by dimension of the Kiawama, which is Saturday. The that's me, Tamji to make number 50, some culture with some Pandoya. Yegi to men or Tigi, Sinji Tamji, to me to $2 each and Sinji Tamji to make which is some and then you to men or this Jiggy to make out Sinji to me. Wheelchair or culture, you want to show some. Jig is another layer to make you do
So that is the first type of passions, passion that realize the definite doctrines or the teachings. So and then the second type of the passion, that is the passions does not care or think about the harm or the wrongdoers. So in these kind of passions, we have to cultivate, or we have to produce certain mental attitude or the mentalities. So when we are facing some problems or the misfortunes, our mentality or the way of thinking makes great differences in carrying or in challenging in future times. So when we are facing some problems or the misfortunes, we have to think that this kind of misfortune or problem is the result of our own karmic process or our own karmas that we have earned in previous times or previous life. So as the result of our own karma or the actions that we have done before, we are facing the problems and sufferings these times. We have to accept willingly these kinds of misfortunes instead of feeling unhappy or disgusting towards these sufferings. Because since we have accumulated the cause and conditions for the sufferings and the problems that we have to experience, when the result comes, we have to willingly accept these kinds of sufferings. Because this way of thinking help us to continuing more successful or more happily in future times. So when we are facing some problems as the result of our own actions, with this we also have to think that these kind of sufferings or problems that are falling upon myself, this can also help to less or to minimize the suffering of other sentient beings. So we have to make certain wish or the motivations that by experiencing these kind of sufferings, this will help other sentient beings to free or to lessen or to minimize their sufferings. So in this way, if we can accept our own sufferings, that of our own karmic process, karmic result. So this kind of way of thinking when we are facing some problem is called the passions that does not care or think about the harm or the wrongdoers.
Tin da dunge junge kap de la ta kala da dunge jonga de rani ge jaw ma la ge ma be chi ge jiu yin du ge ya te nyong de nyong ge yo ine sam no dang jo ge da chen jin ji ge lo ji ge da king ye chang jo lam de yu ge yo yin du king ye ba de chang jo lam de ju se ya de da de sung ge re chang jo ge sem ge to ne de ne rang ge yu la yu de ya da rang la top de ya dunge de nyong cha ine ya nyong de sam no dang jo ji la sim je tham je ge da de ba je ji jiu de da nge ge 용 고쳐 보시오. 심지 담지를 동행 명령하시오. 사바지 로지야. 심지행이다. 심지 시행을 동행 명령하시오. 전이기 다다 동행 명령하디 고쳐 보시오. 사바 로야 쉽기인데 네 스나로야 시대리야지다. 가로다 동행을 교화면 돼야지 그거 되는데 동행 당연히 수가 세지.
Then when we are facing some problems as a result of our own actions, as we have mentioned before, the way of our thinking makes great differences in continuing our future activities. So there are different kinds of the misfortunes befalls upon us in our day-to-day life. So we have to try to transform all those misfortunes as the support or as the conducive factors of enlightenment or the liberations that we aims or we try to achieve. So we have to transform or we have to change all those problems and sufferings into the way in a positive ways to help us to achieve or attain the liberations or the enlightenment. So you see that those great bodhisattvas or those great masters, when they face some problems, they willingly embraces the problems or sufferings, and they tries to change or tries to transforms all those sufferings and changes into a factor which helps to achieve our ultimate goals. So this way of thinking is very influential, and this way of thinking is very powerful to bring happiness in our mind in future times. So if we can, when we are facing some problems like these, we can think like this and we can produce thought like this, then this will finally bring us more peaceful and more happiness in our future times. So with this also, we have to try to, when I face some problems or I face some problems, this can help us to help all the sentient beings to free or to minimize their sufferings by sufferings. So in this way, if we can make certain effort or patience towards the problem that we face in our way like that, then this can help us to have more happier or more peaceful life in future times. This kind of patience is called the patience that willingly embraces the sufferings.
다 디슈가 수가 공단데 출랑의 시비 수가 사지. 다 출랑의 시비 수가라도 메다 공부다 동님 공해야 되죠. 대인도다 소소람 네바신이게 자오데 메다고 라신 공해다 메다고 이거 교화 줘야 이거 공해다. 제가래서는 다 소소라 세들람 네바신이게 자오데 다 개와 먹어질래야 다라니래야 한대게 세들래야 다 지금 뉴지신이게 자오지 기별마도 개와 먹어질래야고 말해야 돼. 소소래야 인체의 인기 푸드시로 오늘 다 제동기 다지게 수수 참지 종류의 인지 차려를 선다야. 근데 마음 발에 개와 지말에 대한 된지를 다들 체대게 잡어대 사수수의 인 당마지 샤시에 수수의 팬들 준이게 가사지 줄세버리 선다야들라 믿다고 공부하았어.
Then the third type, the patience, is that realize the definite teachings or the doctrines of Buddhas. So these kind of patience contemplate the nature of impermanence and the sufferings of the persons in the samsaric life. So when in the practice of these kind of passions, we have to think on the nature of the person who harms us, who do something wrong towards us. We have to see their nature, or we have to see their basic mode of existence. So when someone harms us, or when someone harms us or did something wrong towards us, instead of feeling negative or the anger towards him or hers, we have to contemplate. We have to try to understand their basic natures or the basic entities. So we have to contemplate the impermanence of that persons who harms us. We have to contemplate that that person is also experiencing a great sufferings in the samsaras like ourselves. So if we can contemplate like this, we will naturally feel sympathetic or the pity towards the person who harms us instead of feeling anger or hatred towards the persons. So that is also have to do thing like this. So in this life, if someone harms us, so that person is not always enemy or some wrongdoers for us. Maybe in previous life, that same person did something positive towards us, or that person maybe our relatives are very intimate friends, or the parents, also maybe parents used to be our parents. So because of certain problems or certain factors, the person becomes our enemies or some wrongdoers. So if we make comparison, the continuation of that persons from the previous and this lifetimes and then future lifetimes, then that person is not always permanent or eternal. It always keep going, changing. Sometimes the person can be our friends, and sometimes the person can be our enemies, and so forth. So therefore, we have to, by thinking like this, that person who harms us in these times can change into a person who is very close and very friendly with us. So in this way, it is not worthy to be anger, to feel anger or hatred towards the person who harms only one time this life. So in this way, we have to understand the very nature of the person who harms us, and then we have to try to become their intimate friends, or we have to become their relatives and friends and so forth in future lifetimes. If that can be, then if that is so, then both ourselves and others, especially the person who harms us, will be very happy in future life, and we can coexist in a very peaceful and happily in future lifetimes. So also this we are facing some feelings or some extreme feelings like feelings of sufferings and unhappiness and so forth. So when we face certain kinds of feelings which is very destructive or non-conducive, then we have to see the nature of karma and the delusions or the afflicted emotions. So the main thing, the very base or the basis of all negative emotions or the feelings or the sufferings and problems are the negative karma and delusions. So if you want to free from the sufferings, and if you want to overcome from all those misfortunes, then we have to root out, we have to eliminate the negative actions and the afflicted emotions, which are the very basic cause and conditions of every negativities. So, in the case of challenging the negative karma and delusions, we have to feel that there is certain antidote, very powerful antidote. We can produce, or we can generate within us. So, with this antidote, if we can practice or if we can apply this antidote in a more effective ways, then we can overcome from the negative karma and delusions or afflicted emotions. As the result of these applications, we will not face more further problems or sufferings. So therefore, in this way, the main thing is we have to see that every result or every consequences have to come as the result of certain cause and conditions. There is no single things which is come forth without any cause and conditions. So by understanding the relationship between cause and conditions, we can challenge the negative karma and negative actions and the afflicted emotions. Therefore, in order to understand the nature of impermanence and the relationship between cause and effect, the Buddha Shakyam has termed the three wheels of dharmas or the doctrine. During the first term, the wheel of dharma, he has taught or he has explained in detail what is the nature of impermanence and what is the relationship between cause and conditions and what is the relationship between cause and effect. So, since it has become very important to understand the very nature of the impermanence and the cause and conditions, Buddha has taught, Buddha has specifically emphasized or explained about this during the first turning the wheel of dharmas. So, and main thing is that when we are facing some problems caused by negative actions and afflicted emotions, we have to feel that there is very powerful antidote we can have or we can practice. So with thinking that we can try to apply or we can try to produce this antidote within us, and then once we can produce the antidote, we can apply it towards the negative actions and afflicted emotions, which negative emotion, negative karma and afflicted emotions, which does very root cause to all those sufferings and negativities.
동의범발하는 다다시오는 이제네 내가 전에게 잡아대다 다 수술해야 소화도 내가로 다제게 메타를 하시니까 좋아지기가 주단지기 계기가 주단지기 차다 자샤기가 대비가 그 라시지 주메 상하지 동의 그 라시지 주메 그 주단지기도 비변한 자오샤기가 자오대야 먼저 자차야 돼야 알아서 다 얘기가 유명도 중기 다 자샤기가 자소야 돼 먼저게 알아서 줄여야 자반이요리 가사 벌어보는 자반이요리 이제 게임체 저기 게임체로 오기다 자반이에서 자들고 이 주단지기 자오샤야 주단지기도 비도 제일 소화도 유명 이제 이거도 라시지 주메 그 유미기면이 주마지 메인에서 나와데 이제가 동반이
as for the further helps the support of understanding the nature of sufferings and nature of relationship between cause and effect, also we have to contemplate or we have to reflect on the emptiness or the ultimate realities. So if we can contemplate the ultimate realities or the emptiness, then these can also help us to make more peaceful and more happier in the future lifetimes. So in this case, there are two ways, two things we have to contemplate in this process. There comes two persons, oneself and others who harms us, or the oneself and his or her enemies. So in the case of contemplating the emptiness or the ultimate realities, we have to see that both ourselves and the others, especially who does something wrong towards us or who harms us. So both others and harmers is not existing independently, or it is not are not existing inherently without depending on different kinds of factors. These two persons are self and harmless. Both are existing because of cause and conditions. So since they are the harmless in ourselves, both ourselves and others are existing because of certain cause and conditions, then these kind of cause and conditions will influence us to become in a way more friendly or in a way more disgusting ways. So everything is dependent on the cause and condition that we have accumulated in our previous life. So there is no any phenomena or anything which is inherently existing or independently existing without depending on the subjective matters. So therefore, by understanding the very nature or the ultimate realities of the harmonies in ourselves, we can contemplate the emptiness or the very nature of these two persons. And then by understanding the very nature of these two kinds of persons, we can make more peaceful, or we can handle with more smoothly and more peacefully in the future times. So therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa also praises or eulogizes the practice of patience in a very high list. So Lama Tsongkhapa has mentioned that praises the patience with some analogy or the examples. So usually in our society or in our worldly societies, we see some different kinds of persons with more physically more attractive and more beautiful and so forth. So if there is a person, or if there is a very giant man or giant persons or men or the women, on the top of these physically very strong and big or the giant, if the person, if this kind of very giant person puts some ornament, some physical ornaments, then that person becomes more beautiful or more handsome or more attractive. If he wears some ornaments or makeups on the person who has basically very beautiful or proper structures, then if that person wears or puts some ornaments, then that person looks more beautiful and more attractive. But in the case of the spiritual tradition or the religious persons, we see the passions as the best ornaments that we have. So innately, if we have very powerful practice of passions, then physically that person looks more happier and more calmer and more peaceful and so forth. That other persons sees very good. So this, just like the person in our society becomes more beautiful by putting some ornaments or some chains or some physical some necklaces or so forth. Like this, in our religious ways, if the person practices more passions, then this will become more. This will become an ornament, just as the person who wears some physical ornaments or so forth. So when in our religious societies, the Lama Tsongkhapa said that if the person possessed a very excellent practice of the passions, then that person will naturally appears physically more attractive and more peaceful and more friendly and so forth. So because of these kind of passions becomes the best ornament for the religious persons. Therefore, we have to, by understanding the passion is the best or the valuable ornament for the religious persons, we have to, instead of stressing or instead of making effort towards the worldly ornaments, we have to try to gain or try to obtain this kind of ornament of the passions, which is innerly and externally more meaningful and more valuable. Also, the Lord Maitreya, I don't remember exactly very clearly, maybe in the text called the Ornament of Sutras. So in this text, the Ornament of Sutra, the Lord Maitreya has mentioned that if we practice the passions in a more effective ways, then this will influences in a great way for our facial expressions or the physical aspect. So the facial our complexions. So if the person if the person practices passions in a day-to-day life in a more meaningfully, then that person will appear more happier and more attractive, or the better complexions and the facial expressions, and then other peoples will naturally digest, or other peoples will see very easily, or will naturally becomes very friend or very cooperate. So therefore, also if we think in these lifetimes, if the person practices the passions continuously, or if the person practices passions effectively, this person will always seems like more calm or more peaceful and more cooperative with other peoples, and this person will can exist or coexist with other peoples with more peacefully and more friendly. So that is the thing that we can see in our societies. Also, the Lord Maitreya has mentioned that they appears or they arises so many levels of the attachment and hatred and angers within us. So there are certain very subtle and gross level of the attachment and angers and hatred. The best or the most powerful antidote for the gross level of attachment, hatred, and anger is only patience, practice of patience. So therefore, in order to overcome from the gross level of the hatred, anger, and attachment, we have to practice the patience, which becomes the best antidote for all those negativities. Therefore, by understanding the very apparent result of the practice of patience, we have to try to contemplate or practice patience more effectively in our day-to-day lives. So this will seemingly make a difference in our day-to-day life. Therefore, understanding the consequences and especially the positive consequences of practice of patience, all those great Buddhist scholars have advised all those followers that it is very important to try to practice the patience through the different way of angles. So we have mentioned the three types of patience. Also, so these three are also different ways of practicing the patience, and also there are other ways how we can practice the patience, which is explained in other texts. So first we have to study what kinds of ways or method or the antidote we have if you want to overcome from certain negativities through contemplating or practicing the patience. Then we have so many ways how we can practice the patience or the enthusiastic effort. So therefore, by understanding different ways or different means, we have to take a certain suitable or more easier method or means for us, and we have to select and we have to take willingly, and then we have to start to practice the patience through this selective or through this way that we have selected or we have chosen. Any questions or any unclear point that we need further explanations? Also, you can ask some questions.
Yeah.